being in these new crazy online environments that are so unprecedented. They have no, experience with. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I think that it's getting harder because technology, I think, is becoming more invasive. I think as platforms compete against each other for our attention spans, the one person that definitely ends up losing our attention is ourselves, right? So if like
Hmm.
TikTok and YouTube and Twitch, if everyone's competing for us, Instagram, and as they get better at competing against each other, like the one person who loses time is us. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think that there's just a lot of work there to be done, and we'll see kind of how that goes.
Yeah. 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 I agree. Um. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So let's talk
stimulants.
about yeah. So what's going on, man?
So I'll do from a personal perspective first. And actually, maybe even you can help me sort this like personal thing. I'm curious how you decide this. I have a really hard time in my life sorting out what is like an appropriate uh like where do you draw lines on a spectrum for some things? So for instance, maybe for a relationship, right? Like the best partner would be a partner that had all the same hobbies, similar communication styles, similar age, some like all these things. But in the real world, we kind of have to like make some we make some compromises. You're not gonna have like the most 100% perfect person. Or when it comes to like I think for my free time, uh sometimes I look at the time that I have and I'm thinking like I always feel like I could be doing so much more. Like I'll wake up and maybe I'm in bed on my phone for 30 minutes. Maybe yeah, it's like Reddit, or thank God I don't have TikTok. Maybe it's like sitting in my chair and like reading chat instead of like going to the gym immediately. Like I look at all of these little points in the day where I'm losing time. And I know as like an online person, there's a million other things you can do. Um, what do you think is like at what point do you draw an appropriate boundary where like you should be pushing yourself 100% or 50% or 80%? Do you have any like how would you even go about figuring that out, I
Yeah.
guess?
So
Yeah, go ahead. I'm curious.
I would I would so personally, not personally, but personally and professionally, I think that the premise is flawed. So when you
Hmm.
kind of said that there's like this perfect partner who has A, B, C, D, like that's how you find the perfect relationship. I don't think that's actually what constitutes a perfect relationship. So a perfect
Okay.
relationship isn't about finding 100%. It's about the interactions that you have. You don't need the same communication style. You need investment and reciprocity is usually or some degree of balance, right? Which you could say
Sure.
that's what's on the 100%. But I think in
Hmm.
order to answer this question of okay, I could be doing so much more, right? Like that's your
Hmm.
question. Like how do you decide how much to push yourself and how much to kind of and I would start with like why do you need to do more?
From a socially responsible point of view, I feel like I make a ton of money now and have a ton of influence. And the only reason why I've gotten to where I'm at is because people that had the means to do so invested a lot in society prior to me, whether you're talking about scientific researchers, whether you're talking about really inspirational teachers, whether you're talking about revolutionary fighters, George Washington, whoever, like all of these figures have invested into kind of like mankind because of the unique gifts and talents and opportunities they've had. And I feel like I kind of owe it to pay it forward. So on a societal level, I feel like that obligation exists with everybody to some extent. Um, and then from a personal development level, I just see that let's say that I spend like an hour on Reddit every day, right? I think I could very easily cut out 30 minutes and like practice guitar. And if I look at where I'm at 1 year, like retrospectively, my life is a million times better. I know that it's like a way better. Like I could probably uninstall Reddit from my phone and my life would probably be better for it. Even if my day-to-day instant dopamine hits aren't there, the fulfillment I'll feel at
Oh,
the end of the year is just
oh
going to be better.
my God,
And
what the
I have a
hell?
hard time not like reductively applying that
What are
same
you
thought
doing?
process to every single area of my life. Like I remember there was one week where, well, it was just now,
Fucking
we'll get into the
animal.
medication they want to say with stimulants, where I would wake up at like 9 a.m. and like my goal was to be like on the treadmill in the gym at 9:05. Okay. I wanted to wake up, like throw my pants and everything on, grab my phone so that I could check my emails, but I'm only doing that like on the treadmill. And when I started to live days like this, I'm like, holy shit, like I'll have like gym and like two errands done by like 11:30 a.m. And I'm like, this is way better. But then obviously, yeah, I mean, you can't burn yourself into the ground. So I don't know, like, what is like the appropriate way to draw lines there or something. That's how I view it, I guess. Sorry, that was a longer
Yeah,
answer,
so
but yeah.
no, I mean I think that I think the appropriate way to draw lines has to do with what's important to you, right? So I
Hmm.
think like once again, I mean you I'm all for being more efficient, But and you talk about these like big people, right, who have made big contributions.
I keep fucking not
And
putting the link.
I mean, how much do you owe the world?
As much as you can give, I would say, I would think so, but
Why?
Fuck me.
I feel like the way that like humanity kind of works, the way that people work is there is something about us that's greater than the sum of our parts. Like if you were to use a really crude calculation of like how much happiness can one person produce, maybe it's like 10 units. But if you take two people and you put them together they might be able to make 300 units. That society, civilization, our institutions, all of this collective work kind of like builds on itself to create something that's so much more than the sum of its parts. And in order for that to work going forward, I think it kind of requires people to like rise to a calling or pursue certain gifts that they have in certain ways to, I guess, like better society or the people around them at least, I would say.
Okay. How do you feel when you do 2 errands and you go to the gym by 11:30?
You're really good, obviously, yeah.
Really good in what way? Like what part of you feels good?
What part of me? My brain? I mean, if I feel very productive. Like I've done something that I know is good for me. I've done something that I know I had to do like work-wise. I've still got a lot of time in the day. I feel like I'm very effectively allocating my time, and that feels really good. Like ineffectively allocating my time feels really bad. Like
What
so bad that it can ruin days. Yeah, go ahead.
what feels bad about it?
Man, I don't know. Like if I'm sure people can vibe with this. If you wake up at 9 and you're on your phone in bed until like 11 and then you get out of bed, it feels like you've wasted like there's 2 hours of my day that I could have done bettering myself, the people around me, financially. There's like a million better things I could have done with my time, but I did nothing, and now that time is just wasted. And it feels, if I say inefficient, it sounds robotic, but it just feels like there's so many other better things, yeah, I could do with my time. I would just be like a better person
How
for
do
it.
you
Yeah.
feel about yourself for wasting time?
You bad, stupid, like dumb. Like I know I'm smart enough to know that there's a stupid
I would
use
never do
of
this,
my time.
like,
Just sitting here like
therapy
on my fucking phone
live.
like an
Even though they
idiot.
say
Yeah,
it's
that
not
sounds mean, I don't mean,
therapy.
but like guys, they do feel that way, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Disappointing, I guess, that I know I can do better.
So okay. Here's you wasting time. Okay. Here's you reacting to you wasting time. So this person is disappointed. What do you think about
Yeah.
this dyad? This interaction between you and yourself?
I missed what they just said.
Like the distance from my cognition to my metacognition, or is that
Yeah, like what
the
do you think about
separation
the
issue?
relationship
Hold on,
between your
hold on, hold on.
cognition and your metacognition? Because there's a relationship there, right?
I need a better chair, bro. I gotta sit so straight.
I mean, sometimes the tether is very short, and sometimes it's very, very far away. This has been something that I've been struggling with. That kind of leads us um, into the
Oh,
I guess like
yes, thank God I
the
got a
ADHD and the medication talk. So I've tried stimulants now for about 2 weeks after getting a diagnosis,
curveball.
and I feel like these two things have like become one basically.
What does that
to
mean?
where, as in like before, I might wake up and it's like I should get out of bed and we'll kind of check Reddit and I see what's going on. It's already 30 minutes, blah blah blah. Like that's kind of like how it's going. I know I should probably get out of bed. Whereas now, like if I'm throughout the day, if I need to do something, it's like I need to do this, and then I go and I do that because I know I need to do it, and it's like obvious, like I need to do this, let's go do it. Rather than like sitting down, checking my computer, doing a bunch of other random stuff. Like I can think I need to do something and then go do something. So I feel like those two things have shrunk significantly.
Okay.
But,
So it
Or the
seems like
distance between,
you are further able to meet your goals since you've started stimulant medication.
yeah.
And okay, so let's just offer just a couple of quick ground rules, boundary setting. So I'm not going to dispense medical advice, and let's just be clear on what that is. So I think it's completely fine to have a conversation, like an existential or philosophical conversation about
Oh my God.
performance enhancement, stimulants, what do we want to do in life, etc. What usually medical advice around stimulants looks like involves a thorough diagnostic process, right? So I'll ask you 1,000 questions that I'm not going to ask you today. And then as well as like discussing different treatment
Oh
options, the process of
my
informed
God.
consent, these are the things that constitute the practice of medicine and developing a treatment plan. So I'm happy to share. I've had these conversations with mentees of mine because people are wondering, right? Like, this is a very common conversation to have. So I think it's totally fine. But just so we're on the same page, I'm not going to be diagnosing you or treating you with anything or saying you should or should not take stimulants, because in order for me to say that, I have to know medically diagnostic information. Are we clear on that?
Yeah, I'd make a joke, but being very serious, I 100% understand that. Yeah.
So, I mean, Destiny, I think.
I'm an idiot. On the wrong side.
Okay, so you feel good about yourself after you have started taking stimulants because you're more productive?
Well, hold on. That was a much larger statement. I feel good when I can do the things that I need to do immediately. Do I feel good about myself in a broader sense? I guess that's kind of like the dilemma, or that was, for a while, that was like the issue. Yeah.
So in what ways do you not feel good about yourself? Right? Because you're so you started stimulant medication so you could get more stuff done. And it seems like, it sounds like you went through a very legitimate process of seeing a medical professional, arriving at a reasonable diagnosis and a reasonable treatment plan that included stimulants. Is that fair to say? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and why did you do that? What was your motivation?
Yeah, I want to say, like, I think it was 6 years ago, my son had major issues in the classroom, like such that we went through so many different, I think they're called IEPs for classrooms. We had him like crawling through resistance tunnels to burn energy. We wondered if he had ASD. We were trying to figure out like what was going on, and eventually we kind of settled on ADHD. And then we tried to manage that a few ways. And then I had to do a lot of reading about drugs because I won't say toxically masculine, but I grew up very conservative. I've had like 4 ibuprofen in my life. I'm not like a pill guy at all. And the idea of having my, he would have been like, what, 7-year-old son, like on, amphetamines is like, Jesus, or methadone or metha, whatever the other one was called. That was a big deal to me. So I did a whole bunch of reading, a whole bunch of research. And in the course of all of that reading and research, because I kind of wanted to know, I don't want to say I didn't believe that ADHD was a real thing, but I'm like again, I grew up conservative. I'm a big, if you want to do it, get it done. It's all about you. Forget excuses or anything else. I started to see a whole bunch of things crop up when I was doing research that I didn't know were ADHD typical behaviors. And then when I went back and I mapped them onto my life, I saw that I had a lot of exceptional, one thing was the concept of starting a project with a whole bunch of focus, pouring an inordinate amount of time into it, and then never being able to pick up a project again. I didn't know that was like typical of ADHD people. That's one thing. The idea of not being able to manage homework regardless of academic proficiency. For I think 3 or 4 years, I think in grade school, I was the only kid in my class that had to have my assignment notebook signed off on by my teachers and my parents. I couldn't do it. I remember times growing up where I would cry doing homework. I just didn't want to do it. It was so horrible. I remember behaviors relating to the addictiveness that ADHD people have with regular dopamine scheduled things like video games. Some people call this hyperfocus, but basically if you can find something with a common reward system, you can do it 16 hours a day, stuff like that. I was a pro StarCraft 2 player. I did that. I started to see a bunch of these things crop up, and then and then just the general issue with executive dysfunction. And a lot of these things I didn't really associate with ADHD. I thought ADHD was just like you're hyper and you're running around everywhere, and that wasn't me. I sat at a computer and I played computer games. But fast forward from all of that, I had my son start the medication. It's been really good for him, thankfully. Now, as my future has continued, there was I would never advocate for anybody to do this ever, and I don't advocate, illegal drugs and blah, blah, blah. But I had the opportunity to try a stimulant medication from a friend, and, they made a joke. They're like, oh, yeah, you're going to take this. You're going to be bouncing up and down the walls. It's going to be crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, fuck it, And I tried a stimulant medication for the first time in my life. I want to say, I think it was like about a year ago. And it was the calmest, chillest, most focused, relaxed day I think I'd ever had in my life. And I was just super I could choose to do something, I could whatever. And then fast forward 7 or 8 months later, I've had a lot of conversations with friends. I finally get a formal diagnosis. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's try medication and let's see how my life changes. And then if this is something I want for the better or not, I guess. as a sorry, that was like to try to do the Reader's Digest version of that, but yeah.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay.
And so what's your hang up? So you started the medication. It sounds like it allows you to do what you set it out to do. So where's the rub?
Yeah, I guess the hang up is before I started it. So I got the diagnosis and then I got the prescription. And then for like 7 days, like my issue is always that when it comes to issues of the mind, I'm thinking like, why not just be less of a lazy piece of shit? That's what I, mental tenacity and exceptional focus. Like, fuck it, I am going to do all this shit today. I've done it before, but I don't know why I just can't do it every day. So then it feels at some point like, is this a cop out to be like I'm neurodivergent, I'm like executively stupid, and I'm gonna take like a fucking pill and I'm gonna pop this and like, oh cool, it fixed all my problems. Like, does that say something, I guess, about my character? Does that, yeah.
When you say does that say something about your character, what do you think?
I mean, intuitively, yeah.
What does it say about your character?
That you need some sort of exogenous or external, like physical motivator to do something that you should be able to do on your own. This is something you should be able to motivate yourself for on your own. And the fact that you require something external, especially when it comes to neurotransmitters, is like something is broken with you. And I don't even know if it's broken. It's just something you're not willing to fix or not willing to put the time or effort into fixing. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you feel about yourself for not putting in the do you think it's theoretically possible for you to achieve what you want without stimulants?
Um, I think so. Anytime I have dilemmas like this, I solicit. I ask my fans. I'm like, "What do you guys do?" I'm curious what your thoughts are. So I got a lot of feedback. One thought that stuck with me a lot is a person emailed me and they said, "You've been talking about like overcoming your ADHD and all of this for like 5 years, basically ever since Nathan was diagnosed. And then look back in your life in 5 years. Did you do it?" And it's like, no, not at all. And it's like, if I could have lived the last 5 years of my life on stimulants, even if I do take the hit to my moral character because I'm not, working as hard on myself, every single other part of my life improves tenfold. I'd be healthier because I'd be going to the gym more often. I would be probably eating better. I would be more focused on my research for my streams. So I'd be a better debater. I'd be a better advocate for my ideas. I'd be managing extra time better for like hobbies or extracurriculars, like practicing an instrument, doing rock climbing, whatever the fuck. That even if it was the case that at the end of those 5 years, maybe my moral character is slightly diminished, the gains that I would make in every other part of my life would be so appreciable, it wouldn't even matter. I wouldn't even be thinking about that.
So what's the problem?
Um, well, I mean, when I first messaged you, I was like spiraling hard. But now I've gone through a lot of emails and I've thought about it a lot, and I've kind of, yeah, I mean, I've thought about it more, and I think I feel pretty good. But it is a very weird feeling, like standing in line at a pharmacy or waking up and taking a pill. Like that's just not the type of person I guess I've ever been in my entire life.
Okay.
Um,
Can I
and then I also feel like a lot of other people. Yeah, go. Yeah,
can
go
I
ahead.
just think?
Yeah. Oh, go for it.
Okay. Got a question for you.
Mhm.
What do you think is so what I'm hearing is that on paper stimulants are a good idea for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in actuality, they may be a good idea for you.
Hmm.
I'm hearing that you judge yourself quite harshly for needing them, utilizing them, taking the shortcut.
Hmm.
fair?
Oh, is it? Yeah, yes, I don't know. Yeah, that's true.
Where do you think is the origin of that judgment?
Um, Here's the origin of that judgment. Is the origin of the judgment like, are you asking like why I feel like I need them or why I would judge myself for taking them?
The latter.
The latter.
Former is important too, but let's start with the latter.
Sure. Because I feel like maybe I need to go deeper, you can tell me, but like it feels like I'm shortcutting a process that I should be able to work through.
And where, so that there's a value judgment inherent in that, right? That taking the hard way is superior to taking the easy way. That you should be able to do this.
Yeah.
Should be able to do this better.
Sure. And then that should is it's a comparison of what everybody else around me is like, essentially. That I my understanding is most people can decide to do something and do something, and that it's not a huge issue for a lot of these people, whereas I seem to struggle with it sometimes exceptionally. So I should be able to do what, yeah, most people can do. Yeah, go ahead.
And what I'm hearing from you is like, okay, so like between this tension, right? So on the one hand, you can do it the hard way, which is like meditate and do whatever else. We can talk about that in a second. Like you can kind of overcome your ADHD as if it's an obstacle. And there is data to suggest, and I don't know if this is kind of what you found, but that you can do that, right? There are outcomes from things like psychotherapy are equivalent to stimulant medication. We can talk about that data in a second, but
Okay.
and so there's a tension between kind of taking this shortcut, and then I almost hear you like making justifications to yourself, right? That like, okay, like objectively, if I do this, so I've been dicking around for 5 years, now I'm kind of done. Objectively, like I could have done so much more. Now that I'm on it, I can accomplish so much more. Why do I need to accomplish so much more? Because of this like complicated, or maybe not complicated, because of this meaty worldview about like social good and paying it forward and existing for the benefit of humanity and all this kind of stuff, right? So there's like all these like big reasons for Steven to take stimulants. And those big reasons fight against, well, I should be able to do it without it. And what I'm hearing you ask is, how do I find the balance between these two things? When is it a cop-out? When is it not a cop-out? When is it the right move? When is it the wrong move? And so you're stuck between these two things.
Yeah, from like a, I guess from like a normative ethics point of view, it's like there's like some virtues that I think are worth aspiring to, but then there's like some like consequential attitudes that are undeniable. So like for instance, if I could take a pill right now and have the ideal flawless perfect body composition, blood levels and everything, like I feel like I shouldn't take that pill. But at some point you do so much math where it's like, well, you know, or you do so much utilitarian calculus, you're like, well, I probably should do this. It wouldn't make sense not to. Like I almost wonder if I got diagnosed as like a type 1 or type 2 diabetic, would I think that like, well, do I really need insulin, or can I just do like a keto diet and never eat anything on the glycemic index that's above like a 10 ever and I'll be okay? Yeah, it's that kind of thing, I guess.
Okay.
It's balancing out like that virtue with the, yeah, I guess with the consequentialist idea or whatever, yeah.
And do you prefer if I call you Steve, Steven, Destiny? What do you prefer?
Steven's good.
Okay. So, Steven, I think, I know this sounds kind of weird, but I mean, you're asking me what my opinion is. So I'm going to say I think you're approaching it wrong. So I think the real answer to this is not, so it's not going to work, basically. So you're kind of fighting like an intellectual, I'm going to call it intellectual. It's not quite intellectual, but you're fighting a battle and trying to figure out what the right answer is. I don't think that's what works well. I think what works really well is understanding your relationship with yourself, understanding the origins of the different pieces, and then even resolving some of the fuel behind your beliefs. So you can have two beliefs that can butt heads, and then you can logically try to decide which one is right. But what I find is far, far, far more effective, and this is like more of a personal value system, is to understand like the way that you relate to things. So I'm going to just toss out a couple of things, okay? The first is there's this interesting concept which I loved learning about and loved teaching about, even though I'm not very good at it, is the psychodynamics of psychopharmacology. So the psychodynamics is kind of like psychodynamic psychotherapy is like sort of based on psychoanalysis. So it kind of has this idea that like we have all these like associations and meanings and interpretations and the way that we relate to different stimuli in our environment. We can dig into that, and there's like a whole way to understand, okay, like my mom didn't hug me, and what does that mean to me, and how does that have a subconscious impact? All that crap that we sort of think of is like Freudian psychoanalysis, all that sort of stuff is like the way that we relate to things. There's a whole rich exploration of the way that we relate to taking a pill. So I think this, I don't know if you're doing psychotherapy, but I think sort of like doing psychotherapy around this can be very helpful for people with ADHD. Like, what does it mean to you to take a medication? Because the answer is not, should you take one objectively or not objectively? That's part of your treatment plan, and you and your provider will decide based on evidence-based outcomes and all that kind of stuff. But like, what does it mean to you to take this pill? That's a very important exploration. And I think that's ultimately what's going to fix the problem. It's not like the cookie can crumble either way, right? Because you can make a good logical argument either way. So it's not like there is a right answer or wrong answer. Both of them are justifiable courses. The real issue, the real rub, the tension that I'm seeing in you and the struggle that I'm seeing you has nothing to do with the right answer or the wrong answer. It has to do, if you really want to fix that, you have to understand your relationship to the thing. Now, this is where things get, you with me so far?
Yeah.
This is where things get interesting. So let's just talk a little bit about outcomes, stimulants, and all that kind of stuff. So it sounds like you did a lot of research on your kid, or not your kid, but kids with ADHD. And what did you discover?
Well, now I'm a little bit worried because maybe I was looking at the wrong stuff. For
No, you were
most of the. Well, I was gonna say for most of the ADHD stuff, I had a really hard time finding meditation or other sorts of interventions in larger studies showing to have positive outcomes similar to medication. The only reason why I finally broke down and got the diagnosis for ADHD is because it felt like stimulant-based medication was like some of the only stuff that showed really good outcomes related to people that were like super big into the ADHD thing. But I might have missed that somehow, or I might have, yeah.
No, don't, yeah. Okay, we're gonna get into the phrase broke down in a second, but so let's just understand a couple things about stimulant medication, okay? A lot of people don't realize this. So the first thing is that if you give a child a stimulant, it has very, very good outcomes, generally speaking, for adults. So this is what's really kind of confusing. So let's just illustrate with one example. So some people think that since stimulants are abusable, that... And we also know that exposing developing brains to substances of abuse will increase the risk of addiction as they develop. So when I have my nucleus accumbens and my dopamine reward circuitry that is developing, and I give it highly dopaminergic stuff, it wires in a different way to where I'm sensitive to substances in the future. So we actually have decent evidence that marijuana is actually a gateway drug. Like that is not... It's not some propaganda or anything. I mean, there may be propaganda around it, but basically we know that if you start using marijuana in your teenage years, you are more likely to develop a neurochemistry that is sensitive to other dopaminergic or addictive substances. So people were worried, right? Because we've got this pile of evidence. And if you give a 7-year-old, oh my God, an amphetamine that is dopaminergic, will it increase his risk of addiction? The answer is almost certainly not. And this confuses the hell out of all kinds of people because we were like, wait a second, because this stuff is highly dopaminergic. What we actually find is when you give a child with ADHD a stimulant, their risk of addiction goes down over the course of their life. Now that's really...
Because of a change of behavior or?
Great question. So the answer is complicated. The first thing is to understand what a stimulant does, okay? So a stimulant medication works on the frontal lobes of our brain. So the part of our brain that it actually stimulates is the brakes.
I blew that
so the ability of our brain to restrain other parts of our brain. So if we look at what predisposes people to addiction, it's things like emotional dysregulation, impulsivity. These are both big risk factors for addiction. So when you strengthen the brain and you are no longer as impulsive and you can regulate your emotions, you become less vulnerable to the benefit of substances. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this was in a kind of a roundabout way. For some of the, I'll stay on this topic in particular. One of the emails that I got was it was an interesting question of like, what do you think damages your brain more in the long run? Having these, amphetamines that are causing these dopaminergic effects in your brain. Wait, say that word again.
Dopaminergic.
Dopaminergic effects in your brain. Do you think that hurts your brain more than playing video games and watching porn for 18 hours a day for years and years and years? And if one amphetamine can help you not engage in all of that other horrible behavior, it might be the case that your brain putting the brakes on some forms of like dopamine seeking behavior is actually more beneficial in the long run for addictive behavior than which seems paradoxical, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think the spirit is spot on, but I think there are a couple of important nuances. Specifically with the general principle is true, and that'll apply to everything else I'm about to say. But specifically with the case of stimulants, there are some parts of our brain that are vulnerable to addiction. And what the stimulant medication does is buffer those parts of the brain. Right? So like, and this is what, and now we get to the, so the first thing is that it's interesting because basically several studies have shown that there is certainly not a increased risk of addiction with stimulants. The jury's still out on whether there is a no risk or it's like neutral or it's beneficial. And there's complicated things that get into that, which we're going to get into in a second. But the key thing to understand is that's number one. Here's the other big thing about stimulant medication in kids. Now, I think, so this is going to sound kind of weird, I think that stimulant medication for kids is not neurodevelopmentally good or healthy, okay? It's going to sound kind of weird. Because if we just look at developing brains, we basically know that any kind of psychoactive substance does not really help. Like, it doesn't help the developing brain. That's just something that we know. Whether it's caffeine, whether it's nicotine, alcohol, opiates, whatever. So then, but if we look at outcomes of kids with ADHD who get medicated, the outcomes are good. And in fact, there are studies that show that early use of ADHD medication with higher doses leads to better outcomes as an adult. Okay? Like we're talking like 7, 8 years. We can look at a population of like 12 to 15-year-olds and then look at them 8 years later, and basically like people who got a lot of stimulants early on did better. There's some confounding factors there because those people may have had a more severe illness and other things like that. But I think this is where a lot of people misunderstand one key point, which I think could be relevant to you. So I'm going to, which is that growing up with untreated ADHD is traumatic. So if you look at populations of people who have depression and ADHD, okay? And then you ask, if you got diagnosed with depression first, what is the likelihood that you will get diagnosed with ADHD later? It is 3%. Okay. If you get diagnosed with ADHD first, what is the likelihood you get diagnosed with depression later in life? 70%. There is a very clear causative impact. And this is, by the way, what we see with you, right? So you're like you beat yourself up, and all this self-judgment of it, we come down to it's comparison. Like, where does that thought come from? It's because when you were in second grade, you understood that your IQ was the same as everybody else's. But for the life of you, you could just not understand why you could never do homework. I mean, if you think about even what you've said, the memories that you have are so profound because you recall them to this day. You were the only fucking kid in the class who had to have your homework get signed off by your parents and your teacher. And so what happens to that child? The child starts judging themselves very harshly. Why are you so stupid? Why can't you do what other people can do? This is a sign of your weakness. You have this fundamental brokenness. Very common.
Yeah. This was when I was doing research for Nathan, this was the thing that ultimately pushed me over to do the drugs. I feel like my obligation as a parent is to make sure that his like growing years and everything in grade school are, because he's already in a split parent household, which has a whole bunch of negative things associated with it. So I could tell him, go to school, fight through this and do that, but then to do that on top of everything else, I don't want to be in a situation where my kid is like 18, he either doesn't qualify for college or he sucks at high school and he's like, Dad, why the fuck didn't you just give me like stimulants when I was in second grade, and then we could deal with whatever negative things, but now you've like ruined my whole life because of some weird feeling that you had about medication. So yeah, that was definitely the thing that pushed me in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I think the key thing that you got to understand is when I see this conflict, I don't see actually like an intellectual conflict. I see like an emotional self-judgment fueled conflict.
Uh-huh.
And I think the solution to this is not like is it good or is it bad? It's to actually heal whatever the hurt is
yes.
that you had with growing up with undiagnosed ADHD and what that's meant for your life. Because like that's the thing, and even the way that you the way that you talk about your child's regrets are like your regrets.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right. So like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's like 1-to-1 because what caused you to change your mind? You were like, well, someone said 5 years ago, if you had started, where would you have been now? So now we get to
Yeah.
another problem, which is regret. And this is where like now if we really want to go off the rails, like I've seen this a lot, like why are you trying so hard? I mean, sure, you can construct this whatever social goodness kind of stuff, and like that's good stuff. I'm not saying it isn't. You know, I do that stuff too for social good and all that jazz. But I think that there's a fuel here that has nothing to do with the social good. The fuel has to, let me know if I'm wrong here, but I think like this regret in the sense of I get this pressure from you about time. Like, Steven, are you afraid of death?
I mean, sometimes when I'm driving, but no, not. I don't think not in general. No, I don't think so.
Do you feel like you've regretted or wasted a part of your life?
I think I'm trying to think. Usually, what I'll do, just as a quick thing, I'll have like a feeling, and then I try to intellectualize it, and then I try to slowly, if I can think about a thing a little bit differently, the feeling changes over time. Essentially, kind of like a bastardized version of CBT, I guess. But the way that I try to view my life is, as long as I feel like I'm on a good road, and I feel like I'm happy with myself right now, and the road that I'm heading on, I try to view my life as having no regrets, because any particular bad thing that might have happened might have been a contributing factor to who I am now. So I view it all like pretty favorably. So I might have had like things that were, I'll say, suboptimal, relating to upbringing or earlier in my life, but like I view it as all kind of like these are all part of the stepping stones to who I am now and where I'm going, and I feel really good about those two things, who I am and where I'm going. So yeah.
So that is both really good and really problematic.
Okay.
So I think it's very, very adaptive, and it's exactly what you should be doing, right? You've positively, cognitively reframed and all that stuff. You've bastardized internal version of CBT, call it whatever you want to. But you're essentially taking your intellect and you're molding your emotions with it. But I think there is more to be gained from understanding where those emotions come from in the first place. So from an adaptive standpoint or functional standpoint, makes perfect sense that what you want to do is like, those emotions are negative. Let's cognitively reframe, adapt, grow, work with this negative regret, try to get rid of this negative regret. But I think the next step, and this is kind of where I see you, and this is why I think you're running into trouble, because I think your tactic won't work for these problems, is my sense. So like you can logic your way to a functional life where you get up every day, you're optimizing things, you're progressing, you're doing well.
Garbage.
Right? And this is where, like, when I've worked with people in the past, I don't think this is a problem. I mean, there may be psychological problems related to trauma of growing up with ADHD, but that's between you and your provider and your therapist and all that good stuff. We can talk a little bit more about what that looks like and non-pharmacological approaches if you want to. But I mean, I think this sounds to me like a spiritual crisis more than anything else. Like, that's what it feels like. And these are like bigger, deeper questions of, sure, you can justify, which is what you always end up doing, right? It's like, you can justify this as, okay, like, this was part of my path and it's made me who I am. And like, I'm doing okay in life. So like, I should not regret the past. But what I don't actually hear you doing is metabolizing the regret. I don't hear you getting to the source of that and trying to figure out and I think there's like a tier above this, which is, there may be some problems to me saying that, but which is like understanding that you do regret and that it is okay to regret and that you can still be happy with what you've accomplished. But I think that's like very hard for you because of like that self-judgment of, you know, I should have been perfect.
Yeah,
Well,
I understand what you're saying. The spiritual crisis was definitely like probably a year and a half ago, I think, is when I was trying to think of like, do I want to just sit online and kind of you know, move sideways, do decently, or do I want to be more aggressive with my career? And then that's when I kind of thought more about like obligations to society and all of that. And I feel like, I mean, I'll say that was spiritually solved, but obviously there's still other issues that I'm trying to figure out, like medication, right? And that was why in the past year and a half of my career, I've been way more aggressive in terms of doing other things. I do agree with you about what you're saying. You call it metabolizing your regret, but I- I'm trying to say in other words what you're saying so we can make sure I understand. I think there's a negative thing that people will do where, say you have an abusive parent, where somebody will say something like, you know, actually that abuse was good for me, and my life is so much better because of it. And in a way, that might be better than walking through life being completely traumatized by it. But like the next level would be saying, well, actually, that abuse was really bad for me, but I understand that, I've made peace with it, and then I've overcome it, and I'm moving in a forward direction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I, I
I feel like for the most part, like there are definitely things in my life when I say I have no regret, I guess we could dig a little bit more meatier into that. Obviously there are things that have not gone as I would have liked it, and there are things that kind of suck in terms of my upbringing. But like I've made peace with those things. I don't think that I don't let them drag me down.
Ah, what am I doing?
Obviously, if I could have chosen different types of things in my upbringing, I would absolutely like change the way that some things are. But I think everything's going okay now, so I don't let those things like weigh on me. I guess it's not like I've yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so you know, I like even in your language, I think there's like, and this is what I think is really where there's
Uh-huh.
opportunity for progress is like actually has nothing to do with whether you should take stimulant medication or not. This is really a
Right.
fantastic opportunity for you to understand the different currents within yourself, right? So what I get
Uh-huh.
the sense that you're focused on is when you have conflicting currents, you have a pretty rigorous process of like getting all the troops in line, right? So like
Uh-huh.
you'll, and that's good. I mean, you're good at that. You're gifted at that. It's a useful thing to do. It's adaptive. It's cognitive reframing. It's what we try to do in CBT. But there's like, you're spot on that there's another layer of this, which is to ask yourself like, why do I feel this way in the first place? Right? Why, like,
Okay.
what is the origin of this judgment? Because imagine if you could get rid of the judgment entirely, not get it
Oh,
in
fuck,
line,
man. I didn't realize
but
it
you
was-
could understand that, and this is what I think happens, is you can cognitively reframe.
Wasn't even looking
But
at the
basically, if
score.
you look at sort of this yogic model of the mind, what happens is when we have negative emotional experiences, those emotions get stored up and they sit in our subconscious mind or our unconscious mind as something called a samskar. And that those emotions will trigger
As they
and
go back.
activate in current circumstances. And so, in a situation like yours, or cognitively read it, what is the origin of this judgment? Because imagine if you could get rid of the judgment entirely, not get right. So, like you'll, and that's good. I mean, you're good at that. You're gifted at that. It's a useful thing to do. It's adaptive. It's cognitive reframing. It's what we try to do in CBT. But there's like, you're spot on that there's another layer of this, which is to ask yourself like, why do I feel this way in the first place? Right? Why, like,
Okay.
what is the origin of this judgment? Because imagine if you could get rid of the judgment entirely, not get it in line, but you could understand that, and this is what I think happens, is you can cognitively reframe. But basically, if you look at sort of this yogic model of the mind, what happens is when we have negative emotional experiences, those emotions get stored up and they sit in our subconscious mind or our unconscious mind as something called a samskar. And that those emotions will trigger and activate in current circumstances. And so in a situation like yours, what I'm hearing is an echo of the comparisons that you used to make in this idea that you should be able to do what other people are able to do. That is like a core part in CBT. We may call it something like a core belief, right? And so as long as you have that piece, you really need to understand, like, why do I think that way about myself? Because if you sort of think about it, like, logically, right? I mean, everyone's unique. Everyone, and I know you do this process. This is the part that you're good at, right? Everyone's unique. Like, you can't always make comparisons, and everyone has advantages and disadvantages. We get a certain amount of stat points to distribute on our character sheet, and that's how it is. I took the ADHD thing for an additional feat at level 1, and that's just how it works. And I got debating proficiency, whatever, right? So there's whatever breakdown that you have, which you can kind of logically understand. But I think now the question is like, you know, why do you feel this way about yourself? Why is your worldview such that like you should be able to do it without it? right? And that I think will go back.
It's gonna, yeah.
That I think will go back to like if you really pay attention to your
Live
early
therapy
experiences
reaction
in
time,
childhood,
yes,
which by the
sir.
way, is
Hop in
another
my
thing that I
Discord
just
if you
connected the
want,
dots
Nicky
on.
D.
I was really confused the first time we
Niggle,
talked
diggle.
because you play games while you're debating with people, right?
Well, I haven't for the past 2 weeks while I've been on amphetamines, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. I used to a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that that is not a coincidence that you've stopped. So there's a good evidence
Yeah,
that
no, I don't think it's, yeah, not at all, yeah.
there's good
Yeah.
evidence that doing a cognitively distracting rote task allows people with ADHD to focus. So when I'm doing group psychotherapy with people with ADHD, I will oftentimes, what I learned at one of the hospitals I worked at is knitting. That if they do some kind of rote or even cognitively mildly engaging task, it actually helps them focus because
Bro, the
they
guitar,
have
man.
like too much
My
kind of mental
guitar,
energy and
bro.
like dispersing some of it allows them
I'm
to
about to
actually
hop on
focus.
stimulants,
This is also
honestly.
why people with
Yeah.
ADHD sometimes meditate better with their eyes open.
Okay.
So you need some kind of stimulation, which is something that's interesting. And also, if you started stimulant medication, it would make sense that you
Yeah,
no
that
longer
it all
need.
tracks, yeah.
Yeah. So where are you right now? What are you thinking? Thoughts,
Bro
questions?
watches 10 minutes of Dr. K, so I'm hopping on stimulants, man.
Yeah, I'm
writing
done,
down,
dude.
like,
I'm
big
in it.
Concepts, I guess, to keep track of. The first question of like, what does it mean to take a pill? I think that's a good.
I'm gonna
I
have
think there's
to,
a lot
Nicky
of
D.
room for me to think about and explore how I feel about that because all of my feelings
Muted,
related
by
to
the
that are
way.
negative,
What'd you
and
say?
most of them are, I think, really stupid. They're rooted in stupid things. Like I know that looking on it
Bitch,
intellectually.
what'd you say?
And then the
Nico
why
D.
did I write
In
I wrote-
Discord,
I
not
wrote
on stream.
Judgment in big caps. Oh, why do I judge myself? I guess.
I
Or
literally
it's like,
can
what
barely
standard do I
fucking
judge
hear you,
myself?
Nicky D.
I mean, I feel like judgment is probably a necessary part of. Or you were gonna say something, sorry,
Yeah,
no, you're-
I think you're okay. So let's talk about pills for a 2nd. So why do people have
Okay,
stupid
sure.
beliefs, Stephen?
For all sorts of different reasons. I mean, they could be maladaptive. It could
Sure.
be they
No,
learned
no,
it
but
from
I
other.
mean, like, why do
or-
people develop stupid? Like, so you said, okay, I have all kinds of attitudes towards medication that are stupid. Then why do you have that attitude? Where does that attitude come from?
It's probably an inherited belief that's largely unexamined because it doesn't come up much in daily life. Basically, yeah.
Okay, so I think that's one way to put it. I would chalk it up to an experience, which could be an what you call an inherited belief. I think could be an experience,
Yeah,
right? You
my
know, that-
dad and my grandpa were like,
Right.
I don't believe in medicine, I don't care about this, and then now I'm like, if I get a headache, I don't like to take ibuprofen or Advil, which is stupid, but it doesn't come up that much, so I don't examine it that much, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's an inherited belief. I think it's a learning, is what I would call it. So even
Oh,
though,
sure. When I say
Come on,
inherited, I mean
come
like
on,
you learn
come
it,
on,
but you're right.
come
Yeah,
on.
right,
learn
right.
is
So
a
you
better
had
word, for sure.
some experience early on in life where like maybe you were sick and like the doctor recommended that you take ibuprofen and you were really hurting, and you were like, Dad, should I
what a
take the
goal.
ibuprofen? And he's like, ibuprofen is for sissies. You don't take ibuprofen. And then you felt guilty or bad because you really wanted it and the doctor said, but you didn't want to be weak. Right? And then like that whole thing starts. I mean, I have no idea if that's actually what happened, but that's an example. So I think one thing to
Okay, sure.
understand anytime you examine your stupid beliefs is you can do the cognitive reframing stuff. But I have found it to be very, very helpful to understand the origins of your experience and why that became a truth for you and how that became a truth for you. Because at some point it was learned. That's why you believe it, right? Second thing about judgment is I
What a
think
team.
exploring the
What a team.
origins of your self-judgment are very important. And so if you really want to, because right now what's happening is you have a clash between like a self-judgment and a logic. Right?
Okay. Can I give you my idea about judgment first so that
Yeah.
we're not using the same words? Yeah. So I feel like judgment is a necessary part of your self-analysis because it allows you to more closely align yourself with whatever your idealized version with yourself is. So for instance, let's say that I think I should be somebody that is truthful to
Bro,
my
he's
friends
so
around me,
autistic.
and then let's say that
The
in the
ADHD
past I
when the
lied or I
ADHD
lied
arc
to
ends,
somebody,
the next arc is
then
the
I would
autism
want
arc.
to judge myself as failing to meet those types of expectations that I would have for a more idealized version of myself. That would be what I would consider like a judgment.
God.
Sure.
Not necessarily like, yeah, coming, but I just want to make sure we're using the word in the same way. So yeah, you can tell me that, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, so I think the problem
Oh,
is that the direction of the judgment and the idealized what the target is, it can be based on bad stuff,
Okay.
right? So you're right that judgment is a self-correcting. We have this part of our brain that does something called counterfactual thinking, which is, and it's kind of a weird term, but when we make a mistake, there is a factual representation of what happened. And we have a part of our brain that thinks in a counterfactual way. So you could think about it as hypothetical. But our brain goes back and rewrites history outside of the facts. And that is one of the
Autism
ways that we learn from our mistakes and correct our behavior.
We need to get some autism.
So you're right that I think judgment is... it's a judgment that you place that has the direction towards an idealized self. But the problem is that that idealized self and that judgment can come from unhealthy places to begin with. So what I'm saying is,
I agree.
That's what needs to be examined. Right.
Okay.
And that's
then,
what
then I guess the question would be, like, is the ideal that you're aspiring to unhealthy to some extent? I feel like that's what the... Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Then we get to the big problem of, like, I think, like... So I think you've come up with a very intellectually sound, dharmic,
let's get it,
ethical, utilitarian approach to what you want to do with your life. But that's all coming from up here. And what I'm really hearing you need to do is integrate that with, like, the other parts of your mind.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Because I think that's where you're going to find your balance. Because right now there's a conflict, which means that one side is going to win and one side is going to lose.
Or, well, ideally, one side is integrated into the other. If you run into a huge incongruence with the mind and the feeling, at some point you have to examine why and then bring one of them into alignment with the other at some point, right?
Yeah, so I think in that integration process, one piece is going to lose.
Oh, I hit the wrong car.
Okay.
Son of a bitch, I should have hit the other car.
I disagree. Or let's talk about that, actually. Yeah, because I feel like I don't agree with that 100%. I'll give an example, and then you can talk me through why you think that. I'm curious. So let's say that...
Debate bro in therapy.
Let's say that I feel like I should... shoot, I don't want to use like... Well, no, we'll say a negative thing, okay? Let's say that I want to play video games for 16 hours a day. But, like, intellectually, I know that it's probably not healthy to play video games for 16 hours a day. But I really like playing video games. So at some point, I ration this out to, like, well, I think playing, like, 1 or 2 hours a day, maybe. That's healthy. Like, I would view that as a sort of compromise where I don't know if I would say one side is lost or not, but maybe you would frame it as, like, one side is lost. Like, the emotional side of wanting to play for... Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely, right? Because one side of you wants to play for 16 hours a day. Like, if we
but, like, maybe the intellectual side wants to play for, like, 0 hours a day. Like, don't play video games at all.
Sure,
But then
so
you, like, compromise.
anytime you integrate or compromise, both sides lose. Right?
Okay, that's how you... Okay, sure. Okay,
no winners in compromise.
Right, so my point is that there's a different way. And I think it's fine. What you've done is awesome. Like, I'm not trying to... You know, I think, like, the higher you climb on the MMR scale, the harder things get and the more subtle they become. So I think there's another way to go about this, which is to metabolize the root of why do I want to play 16 hours a day in the first place. It's not about reconciling two parts. It's about getting to the source of, like, what does 16 hours a day mean to me? What's important about this?
Okay.
And then as you get down that road, something cool happens, which is that the desire kind of melts away. And then you're sort of left without either side. And then you're kind of like, you can just sort of make a choice and you're not being, like, driven by these two different things.
Sure. Can you expand on that when you say the desire melts away? Like, can you think your way through wanting to ever play video games? Yeah, what do you mean by that? Can you expand on that?
Theoretically, you can think your way through that. There is a subset of the practice of yoga. I'm not talking about the postures. I mean, like, the traditional meaning of the word yoga, which is like paths to enlightenment, called jnana yoga, which is the yoga of knowledge. So one major text of that is this text called the Brahma Sutra, which is like a text that talks about logical argument. So it's like a text on argument, basically. But there are, theoretically, it is possible. It's not logic, it's more contemplation. And then, like, if you kind of think about, so theoretically, maybe it's possible. It's something that when I was learning, I was taught that this is the hardest path of yoga, of which there are very, very few true yogis who, like, really know how to do this anymore. Because it's not logic, it's contemplation. But the other way that I would think about it is, first of all, does that answer your question, or what was your question?
What do you mean when you talk about like the dissolution of desire?
Yeah.
I guess I kind of thought it was going to be. I don't know if there was like a when you just do this, but
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard of like the far more complicated ones. Right? Yeah. Go ahead.
But there is absolutely a dissolution of desire. So like this is
Okay.
where things get kind of cool, which is like the more that you explore the origin of whatever your desires are, the more you will discover that there is nothing at the bottom.
Okay.
Right? So we assume that the things that we want are like real.
Whoa.
But like once you realize the
Truth bombs
origin
from
of the
Dr.
want, you
K,
realize
bro.
that, oh, this is like not a real thing. It's just so like just to give you a simple example. Let's say I want to play a particular video game. So I've been on the fence about buying Starfield because I don't know.
That's terrible.
Right? And so if I really look at, okay, do I want to buy the game? Do I not want to buy the game? I draw a logical argument about reasons to buy Starfield, reasons to not buy Starfield. And I can go back and forth, but the real antidote to that is like, why do I want Starfield in the first place? What am I looking for? And the more and more I go into myself, the more I realize, okay, like, what is the origin of my desire for Starfield? I saw an ad about it. What is the origin of my desire? I saw people talking about it. What is the origin of my desire? Oh, like I enjoyed playing Morrowind and Oblivion so much that I longed for that experience again. And then as I sit down and I engage in some degree of like reflection and contemplation, okay, so like I have had things that I enjoyed in the past. Do I want to hold on to that? I don't need to. I can just appreciate that for what it is. And it's kind of weird, but at like the end of that process, there's just nothing there.
Is it necessarily good to
No! Oh
dissolve
my God.
all
Oh.
of your desires? I don't know how Buddhist we're getting, but like the counterclaim I'm gonna say is like, well, what if you have a desire to be like a good father or a good parent? Like, would you want to drill down and go ahead.
It depends on what your goal is. So when you say good, how are you defining that end zone?
Good, normatively, morally. Like it sounds like dissolving a desire
Bingo,
to
bango.
partake in a vice is tautologically good because vices are bad, and if you can dissolve your desire to have a vice, you've done something good, right? We move away from vice and towards virtue. That's what I'm thinking. Good. You've made yourself a better person, improved your character, I guess.
So I'm gonna say a couple things. The first is that there's a subset of spiritual practitioners called Agori Babas. Gor means fear. Agor means lack of fear. So these are people who intentionally engage in vice-like behavior as part of their spiritual progression. Now, in this case, vice-like behavior includes marijuana, eating of meat, even cannibalism in some cases.
Whoa,
and they actually intentionally expose themselves to negative things to try to transcend this like tautological idea of like good and bad. So they drink alcohol and get high and eat fish and meat and sleep in cemeteries and stuff like so. There's a spiritual path that kind of does that, but then the goal there is that this idea that this tautology between good and bad is actually like a human construction, and that it's not a real thing.
That sound like a bunch of sick fucks, huh?
Non-dualism, which is like a philosophical view that most of the yoga practitioners kind of take. It's the dominant school that has emerged historically.
Okay.
So first thing is that there's a perspective that tautologically good and bad is not a real
Discord the
thing,
whole
and it's just
time.
these are judgments that we make, right? And we know that
tried
good and
telling
bad
you,
changes
bruh.
over time because people used to think something was good, now they think it's
I
bad.
didn't
so
realize
it's really
the
good or
whole
bad.
Okay.
Second thing
Shit
is
happens.
from
What's
a
good,
more
bro?
practical perspective, I think that for
Chilling,
99%
man.
of people,
Just
moving on this path will
chilling my
improve
day
their
off,
life
you
in a
know?
significant way.
Dr.
Bullshitting.
K kind of spitting.
But if you
Dude,
really
Dr.
look
K
at
is
the
like-
precision of
I'd be
it,
like, I would go to therapy if I knew my
abandoning
therapist
desire
was this
makes
good.
you not
That's
a
what I'm
real
saying.
citizen.
But I'm gonna go to
100
therapy and I'm
the
gonna meet
world of
some
life.
dickhead.
So if your goal is to
Someone
break
who's gotten,
free
like,
of the
divorced 3
cycle of
times.
Yeah,
suffering
in
my
some
therapist.
weird,
and
stupid
to become
plaza with a
enlightened
Ross.
and achieve whatever
Yeah.
your highest human potential is, which can be viewed as virtuous,
Fuck
and
all
there's a whole
that.
fun angle there.
No, but
right?
it is
So, like, but
interesting
as
though.
you
I didn't know
become
that
more
man
and more
started
enlightened,
stimulants.
like, you don't
didn't see this whole
behave
little
the way that a
saga,
normal
bro?
person will.
I
Generally speaking,
honestly
think
have
that,
been
like I
kind of
said, for
tuned out. Like I
99%
watched some of
times,
the
that's
Israel
good.
Palestine stuff,
But let's remember
but other
that,
than
like,
that, I
when
haven't really been
Buddha
watching the past couple
started
weeks.
his journey on his
You see what happened to
enlightenment and also
Melina?
became enlightened. He basically
I did see
abandoned
that,
his,
but
how
like,
she-
child
The taxi-
Did
kingdom.
she actually? She didn't
and
actually go to
pursued something
jail,
else.
right? Like
No,
she,
I don't think so.
I think most people
She's
don't
literally
know
just
that.
like stuck in
But
Sweden.
technically,
Okay.
Yeah,
if
that
you want to
sucks.
really get to it, like you could
Dude,
say, okay,
imagine
so
the
there are
Swedish government
yogis in the
thinks you're
Himalayas
frowning them on taxes,
who've been
bro.
meditating in caves for 40 years.
Of all the fucking
What
governments,
good
I
are
mean,
they
they
doing?
probably have a lot of fucking taxes, so
Dude,
wouldn't be
so
surprised if she fucked it up.
I think they said like she like hired a tax guy who sucked apparently. Like he like set her shit up retarded. Fuck all
Yeah,
that.
that's probably pretty common. But it is so dumb that like if you if you're dual citizen, you have to pay taxes in both countries, right? Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like, what is she paying taxes on? Like, does she have like a house over there or some shit? Like, is it,
I'm guessing just
know?
income. I mean, I don't really know what else.
but like, how can they like tax her for that income when she's not living there? She's just
Oh, that
Well,
doesn't matter at all. Like, if you're a U.S. citizen and let's just say you go to China to do work there, you still have to pay U.S. income tax.
even if my job is in China. Wait,
Yes.
but like that's like
Yes.
even if the company that hired me is in China
Doesn't fucking matter. You either renounce your U.S. citizenship
or pay
and now
taxes.
or
I didn't
pay
know that
taxes.
at all.
Yep.
That's actually fucking.
It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, but don't you also have to like live here like a certain amount of time out of the year? Like,
I don't think to be a citizen or
to like to like keep your. I mean, if you're not born in this country, at least, and you like become a citizen, or something like
that.
that.
I don't know 100%. There's
some bullshit like
there's
that.
definitely like exemptions and shit like that, but
That's crazy, bro.
yeah, you
So-
have to pay taxes.
Dude, if I get an email and they're like, "Here's a sick job in China from this Chinese company," like
You
move
make
to China.
200K a year,
Yeah.
yeah. You have to
And I go,
pay
"Sick."
U.S. income tax
They look at-
and Chinese tax,
or you're not even American. Yeah.
or you're
well,
yeah
the Chinese tax makes fucking sense.
yeah. Chinese makes that's obvious, but like
What? Here's
Yeah.
the big question. Can you get your citizenship back if you renounce it?
that I don't really know. Would you have to take the test again?
Yeah, like I
and-
want like if at that point are you like illegal immigrant? like if
I
you
mean, yeah, you would be.
you're born here, you leave the country, you renounce your citizenship, then you just sneak over the border back in. You're a legal immigrant that was born here.
Dude, I saw this one. You reminded me of this one like Republican meme I saw the other day.
No.
It was like retirement plan. 1, move to Mexico. 2, give up citizenship. 3, come back illegally. 4, set for
Yes.
life.
Literally.
Yeah,
What a
that's
genius.
how it works.
What a fucking genius.
Genius.
That would be a play if you could do it. You could get away with it. You're like 90 years old.
Give up. Yeah,
Your life,
why not?
dude.
get some free healthcare.
Do what you gotta do, bro. You can get free healthcare here, bro. You just don't got you gotta go to the hospital and not give them any of your information.
That's true. Just don't pay anything. Don't give them any info.
They still have to treat you, but you just don't pay shit, bro. I'll never pay a medical bill again, bro. I swear to God. If I go to the doctor, I'll be like, haha, try to get me to pay for that, you fucking pussy.
So if you like, what do you think of all this fucking Israel shit?
Bro, it's wild, bro.
Dude, it's fucking
It's-
crazy.
So
I just don't want to say nothing, bro, because I know if I post one shit, everyone's gonna be
Dude,
like,
yes.
"Fuck you." If I post the other
Yes.
shit, everyone's gonna be like, "Fuck you."
And you know
So
how I
it's
know
like,
that is because when I see people post, whatever side they post, I'm like
I'm
immediately
against.
wanna-
Yeah, 100% agree.
I'm immediately like,
100%.
wait, hold on. Like it's so complicated, bro.
It really fucking is, dude.
Yeah, I saw there's this one girl that I follow that's Jewish and posted this thing. It was from an account called Zionism for Teens, which already was hilarious. And like it was like pretty clear like propaganda. Like if you read the shit she posted, it'd be like you would think like, oh, Israel's been treating Palestinians amazingly, and the Palestinians just are like, fuck you.
Yeah, they just all want to kill them for no reason.
Which is, it's wild, bro. And then you know what I hate? You know what Tick actually hate?
What?
When
Which one?
people there's like one thing I saw. It was like when people saw Palestine did the attack, and people started being like, yeah, but Israel's literally like fucking with the Palestinians so hard, and then people will be like, oh, you wouldn't like if Al Qaeda attacked the U.S. you wouldn't be like, yeah, but the U.S. did a bunch of evil shit. I hate that take.
That is a bad take.
It's a bad
I have
take.
thought of one better one though.
It's literally a
Now,
bad
instead
take
of
though
Al Qaeda,
because it's because Al Qaeda has no control over us at all ever, you know. And Israel has.
what if instead of Al Qaeda you said it was like a terrorist attack by Native Americans?
Yeah, that tracks way better.
That tracks
would-
much better, right?
Yeah. That would be.
But I
that-
don't think people would be like, I stand with the Native Americans. Do you think so? Like, I really don't think
no,
so.
not at all. Because we don't treat them as bad. I mean, actually, there are some spots where natives get treated
Anymore,
really badly.
yeah.
Actually, I would say, I bet today we could probably find like a reservation that's like absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
Like horrible.
They do get banked though. Don't care.
Some of them. It depends. It's like
It does depend which one you're
Let's
in,
try
but
it,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure they all get like some
that's what
level
that's
of.
what Killers of the Flower Moon's about. I'm so fucking hyped to see that movie, bro.
Dude, I'm seeing a fucking AI movie today.
The creator.
Yeah,
Let me know how it is. Let me know if you fuck with it.
my dad really wanted to see it. I don't know why.
I
so I'm going
kind of
with it.
wanted to see it too, cause I mean it's just sci-fi. I'm always down for a good sci-fi movie, original movie. But I don't know. I saw like conflicting shit. So
Yeah, I'll
This is the
tell
guy
you if
that
I
did-
think it's good or not.
yeah, let me know your opinion. You
Is there anyone that I would know like directing or playing in it or?
The guy that directed that movie. I think the last thing he directed was Rogue One, Star Wars.
Okay. Okay.
I mean the main dude. That's Denzel Washington's kid, bro. Nepo baby.
Oh, facts.
John
didn't
David
know that.
Washington. I think I actually don't know much else about the movie, other than it was shot on like a. It's like Star Wars gets like a $200 million budget, $300 million budget. This movie is made for 80, and it looks just as good. That's
Damn.
the dope part. If you watch that movie, you'll be like, damn, it looks like they might as well spend the same amount of money as fucking Star Wars, or it looks even better.
CGI baby.
CGI and then like actual artistry instead of just FX sweatshops. The way Disney does it.
Yeah, dude, Disney's fucked.
I mean, you saw they're like not negotiating with the actors now.
I didn't. I thought the last thing I've seen in that whole thing is I thought you posted something that.
The writers
They
got a deal.
came
The
to an
writers deal
agreement.
came
Oh,
to
the
an
writers,
agreement, but the
okay.
actors are still now because they're like, we need 2% of the revenue, and the networks are like, you guys are being greedy. You guys are being real fucking greedy.
I guess we'll see what
Yeah.
fucking happens, but
And the other big thing for the writers is they're actually gonna be able to see like their numbers, like how the show is doing. Cause like right now, like on Netflix, like they don't tell you shit about how well your shit does on Netflix.
yeah, you just see like, oh, it's trending #1. I guess.
Yeah,
it's a
and
good
you're like,
thing
I
for
guess
us.
that's and like who knows how real that shit is, you know?
Yeah,
It's like how is a Netflix movie always in the top 10? Like,
Breaking
Like-
Bad #1 today. The fuck.
yeah, I was watching a interview with a comedian earlier today. He was talking about it. And he's like because they're comparing like to Blockbuster, and they're talking about how like, dude, you used to be able to like you'd walk in and you'd be like, you could see every kind of movie. Like now it's like an algorithm fed. Like there's so many things that they just don't show you.
Dude, Blockbuster was nice, but it wasn't like
Blockbuster
that insane.
had more titles than Netflix.
No shot.
100%. Look it up.
In an average fucking Blockbuster, they had more titles
Yes.
than on Netflix.
This is what I saw.
That's crazy.
It makes sense, bro.
So what? Is there more in a fucking library than in a
There
goddamn
might be.
Amazon ebooks?
Honestly, dude, I feel like a library is probably like one of the best places to like rent a movie. They probably have so many movies
True.
right when they get them.
Dude, I haven't been to a library in a minute.
I was just about to say the same thing. Can't remember the last time I went to a fucking library. Actually, the last time I went to a library was to vote.
Oh, that's
Literally
true.
to vote.
No, I went to a school for that, but there is a library like right down the street from my house.
My voting
We
place
all slide through.
was a library. So I'm ready for again, bro.
I should start going to the library.
Hey,
bro.
are you voting for Cenk? Honestly, this is
Fuck
that's
no.
no.
Fuck no.
You don't think Cenk would be a good president?
I think he probably would, but I think that he is delusional to think he has any chance. Have you seen what he said?
Is it about just him not being born in this country? Is that the main?
No, dude. He fucking said that his goal is to get to like 20 to
25.
20. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then Biden would drop out. Bitch, what are you talking about?
Well, it's not the worst sounding plan. I don't know how like I wouldn't bet on it happening, but
Well,
if
why
it's-
would Biden drop out even if he got
because his theory was he'd get up to 25, then other Democrats would be like, "Oh, Biden's vulnerable. I'm gonna hop in the fucking race," and then like just slowly like Biden just has less and less.
I don't
of
know
a
what's
majority.
less likely, him getting at 25 or Biden dropping out if that happens. Probably him getting at 25, but
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, like I was pretty like on like the dude. Biden's gonna win without even. It's gonna be easy. Like,
yeah.
but now I'm like I am kind of like I have no idea. I
I'm
literally.
the other way, bro. Before I was like, I don't know, but now I think
You
he
think
got
Joe's got it? Cause legit. I think Cenk was saying like, oh, he's got like a 30% approval rating, and like no incumbent president with approval rating below like 40 gets reelected. Has ever done it like.
Let me check. 538.
And I was like,
approval
that's
rating.
pretty bad, but this is like also like unprecedented times. You know, it's like this is like the standard is like the norms are changing. You know?
Okay, so he's at 39%.
Yeah, so he's not in good shape to win. That is true.
You know what Trump was at this point in his presidency?
What?
40.2,
And he lost.
and he lost.
He fucking
He's-
lost.
He's less than 1% higher.
I feel like incumbent nowadays is like that's like a it hurts you. Like having a track record hurts you.
Hey, he's doing better than Jimmy Carter though.
Honestly,
Even
I
though
don't.
Jimmy Carter
I don't know
lost.
what Jimmy Carter really fucked up.
I think it was.
I
I
really
don't
don't
know
know.
exactly, but I think he said some shit about like
He was racist,
Like the-
right?
yeah, like the price of electricity were going up, and he said some shit like, "Oh, just wear a sweater inside" or something
Jimmy
like that.
Carter said that
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
on some we gotta save the planet type shit, like energy saving, like fuck you. Yeah,
Yes.
that make now it makes sense that he was unpopular.
Apparently, it's called the sweater speech. So that's one part of his
Nice.
downfall.
Noise. That's like almost conservative rhetoric where they're like, brokies just need to stop buying Starbucks.
But it was to save money at the time. It wasn't
Yeah.
like save the planet shit. But yeah.
Jimmy freaking Carter. Dude, I'm voting for. Do you think like legally Cenk could even be president? Or are you like fuck that? There's no way.
Yeah, he definitely could.
You think he could?
Yeah.
Even not being born in the U.S.
One of his parents was a U.S. citizen, right?
I don't think so.
Oh no?
No, I'm pretty sure they were like Turkish, full Turkish, and then he came here.
Oh, I don't know then. Because that was what it was with Ted Cruz, right? Because Ted Cruz was born
Oh
in
yeah,
Canada.
yeah, but yeah, his parents are American. No, yeah, Cenk's
Yeah.
parents are not American.
Then I don't know. He probably wouldn't be able to, if
He's
I had
like-
to guess.
He's like arguing like there's like a, I think it might be the Fifth Amendment or something, or like there was like a case that like, basically ruled that, naturalized citizens have the same rights as natural born citizens. So basically, off the back of that, he's like, if they can run for president, I can run for president. Which I don't know.
Well-
Like if that were to like in the world where he fucking all of a sudden like picks up steam like crazy and wins, like the Supreme Court's just not gonna let him do it. They're gonna rule you have to be friggin' you cannot be an immigrant.
I don't know. If he's actually that popular, I don't think that they'd be like, nah, this guy can't be president. I mean,
you don't
it
think
could
so,
happen.
Nikki D?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I
You-
mean,
you think they're above that?
I'm not saying yes, actually. I actually do think that.
I do not think they're above that. I think they would find a way to like make it sound like
Well, do you think it would be any different if he ran as a Republican? Do you think then they wouldn't?
if he was like a Republican, like like a real one,
Like
or
a Trump
or
type.
like a Trump type, I think they'd let him.
I think it's the
Because
same thing then. I don't think that plays a huge role.
wait, him.
I don't think his politics plays a huge role. I think like either
No,
they're gonna
but
let him run or they won't.
well, if he was Republican, they'd let him because the core is Republican.
Yeah, but I don't think that has like that big of an impact.
What? You don't think so? You didn't think Trump packing
In
the
terms
core
of
is like built for a moment like that, or built to overturn Roe v. Like, think about nobody thought Roe v. Wade
listen,
was gonna get
if
overturned.
it's that much of a gray area, then yeah. But like I don't think
It's a pretty fat gray area. Like it's a
it's
pretty
pretty
like
fat gray.
he's
I
challenging
don't
like a
fucking know
norm that
anything,
everybody
so.
assumes is like a given. Like you know what I mean? Like
What is the law that only natural? Because people said the same shit about Ted Cruz, bro. So isn't it the same thing?
well, well like literally it's just because Ted Cruz's parents were born here though.
Yeah.
Like he's
I don't fucking
Cenk
know.
is full immigrant. I don't know. Like him getting to 25 is already like such a fucking long shot of long shot of long shot. Like
Yeah, it really is.
I don't know how. Plus, like he's so easy to smear, bro, because he'll go off on anything, bro. He's not afraid. Like I honestly was like, dude, what the fuck is? I thought the Young Turks were bullshit, bro, for a while. When I first.
Dude,
heard
I
of them.
remember watching them when I was a jit.
Really? Nah.
Not when I was a jit, but yeah, I like had known that they existed
I
for a
remember
long time.
seeing
yeah.
their links and I was like, this looks weird. Like I don't fuck with this.
What was wrong with it, bro?
Honestly, I think it's just the production value, bro.
Dude, they were one of the most popular channels on YouTube. I
Yeah,
think they
but-
were the most popular.
But like compared to production value on a like not today, if you watch the Young Turks, it looks just like CNN. Like it looks the exact like production value wise. Back in the day, no.
Yeah,
Grainy shit video, you know,
that's true.
for shitty desks. But now it looks like a really.
They were on
put
radio
together
at one
show.
point.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
weren't even on fucking YouTube.
Same thing with Breaking Points. They make their shit like the optics is like, it's like, that's why they're blowing up harder than like Kyle Kalinske or anything, bro. It's because they
The
just look, they
professionalism.
just bro. Kyle Kalinski's over here hitting a jewel, hitting a vape.
Mid video. Yeah.
Mid-video. Like he's way more casual, you know.
I fuck with Kyle though. He's cool.
No, yeah, I still watch his stuff. I don't watch like anybody like all their shit though. Like
Me neither
sometimes this
anymore.
shit.
Just
like-
too busy.
Yeah, what you been up to, bro? Just working, schooling.
Dude, cause I got fucking promoted, so it's like
Oh,
I have an actual job now and
Wait,
shit. Like,
where are you now? What's your title?
I'm team lead.
Nice. I hate my league.
Yep. So I have
you manage a bunch of
subordinates now,
people?
bro. I got
Yeah.
subordinates.
Dude, so
Not really yet. Like they're hiring more people, but
Does
yeah.
your manager basically go look at like your subordinate stats and go, "Why does this person suck?"
Not yet,
Make 'em
but
suck
eventually,
less.
yeah, they'll start doing that.
Nice, dude. I'm so ready to quit this fucking job, bro.
Yeah, dude. Like I'm glad I got promoted, but honestly, I'm more happy that I got promoted for my resume,
resume?
than like for my actual job. You know, so.
Facts. Dude, just lie on the resume, dude. It don't fucking matter.
The thing is that now I get a bonus, so I want to stay at least until I get my bonus, and then I can dip.
Yeah, that's me. Like I'm waiting for this end of the year overtime, bro. Holiday pay and shit.
Hell
man.
yeah.
And then we'll see, cause I'm moving in fucking January,
Facts.
so I'm trying to see what the fuck is up with that, bro. I just don't want to get a job up here, bro. That's not remote. Cause like I want
Yeah.
to be able to go down whenever I want, dude.
Dude, having a remote job is so fucking nice.
Yeah.
I think I will get back into the office eventually, but
Yeah,
like for
man.
now I'm chilling.
Yeah, eventually. At some point, I'm gonna
Cause it's
have to
probably
work with
good
other
for like
people.
your life and shit, right? Like seeing people every day.
Yeah, but seeing people, not fucking working in an office. Like,
Yeah.
if you had, if we fucking left the house more, we wouldn't need to go to office. You know what I mean?
That's actually true, yeah.
It's like the only plus of the office is it forces you to leave the house at some point. Fuck that though, Cause then I leave the house and I'm like, I just want to fucking go home, bro. I'll be home sometimes like, damn, I just want to go somewhere, and then I have to go do something, and I'm like, I just want to go home. I just want to stay and not want to do shit.
So what's going on with Cristiano Ronaldo?
He's what is going on? He's in the fucking Saudi Arabia, right? Playing.
Dude, he got sentenced to 99 lashes.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even
Dog,
shitting you, bro.
That's not a thing.
Bro, cause he hugged. Am I getting fake news?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes, you are.
I don't
bro.
think so, bro. This
Dude,
is
the
legitimate.
idea, if that happened, bro. If that fucking wait, let me see this, dude.
Dude, I'm pretty sure this
I'm
is
seeing
fucking real.
The websites that posted an article about this is TMZ, the New York Post, and the Daily Mail. So let's take this with a grain of fucking salt.
Dude, TMZ's the most legitimate source out there, bro.
Only when people die, bro, and not even
that's
then.
kind of true. That's kind of true. But
Barely even then.
apparently he hugged a painter. And you're not allowed to hug painters.
Dude, if realistically, this is how I imagine this going down. The Saudi government's gonna be like, "Yep, we're gonna lash him," and whoever owns the team he's on is gonna be like, "Okay, well, how much does it cost to not lash him because he's my star player?" And either they're gonna take that bribe and everything's fine, or they're not gonna take that bribe, lash him, and he's gone.
And he dips.
And he dips. Yeah, he leaves. It's over. Like they try to get Messi in that league, bro. Luckily, the MLS.
Thank God he came to Miami instead.
I mean, the Apple TV and MLS had to cut the nastiest deal for him, bro, to match the
no
Saudi
doubt.
money, bro. It was crazy.
He
Dude.
got equity, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he gets a piece of every fucking shirt, every goddamn everything, dude.
Ticket sale, everything, yeah.
Dude, I watched there's a David Beckham documentary on Netflix. It's pretty interesting, bro.
Oh, what documentary?
Of David Beckham.
Oh, facts.
Because he owns the fucking team.
Yeah.
Like, this is his masterminding. And like, they went into, like, because he was, like, one of the first big players to, like, come play in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they started talking about, like, when he first joined LA Galaxy, and they're like, it was a dog shit team. Like, there were people making, dude, Beckham signed, like, a $250 million deal to play for LA Galaxy, and other players on that team were getting, like, $13K a year. Like, it was a part-time.
13K?
It was a part-time job. Like, they had other jobs.
Yo, that is fucking crazy.
They were playing on, like, football fields that didn't have, like, the football lines fully off. Like, it was he joined at a time, like, he actually, like, walked so Messi could run, you know? Like,
U.S. soccer has come up from what I know.
hardcore.
Like,
And honestly, David Beckham was, like, probably one of, like, the first, like, the pioneers of why it's even blowing up a little bit. Because, I mean, he built that Miami team. He got Messi over here. Like, that's what's crazy. But his life was also wild, bro. Dude.
yeah.
He, like, his first game for the England national team, he got red carded on some bullshit. He got ejected out of the game. And he was like, dude, he like, it fucked him up because, like, everybody in England fucking hated him.
Because he got a red card? I mean,
Yeah, because he got red carded and they ended up losing in penalties. But, like, dude, like, it's like a level of hate you don't, like, for sports. Like, there's no NFL fan or NBA fan that has.
No,
like,
hold
half
on.
the
There's
passion.
one. There's one that
No.
that you might not know about.
One. That one is like the average soccer fan in Europe. You know what I mean? Like, the most extreme
You gotta
NFL
watch
fan
this video.
is the mildest soccer fan in Europe.
You gotta watch this video. I
He was,
believe
like,
that.
people straight up, were
Especially
spitting on
Brazil,
him.
from what I know.
Yeah.
But look at this video I just linked
Okay.
in the Discord.
Let me see this. Oh, I know about this guy.
You know about this?
I know
You
about this guy.
this?
Yeah. But
Dude,
he's not a
this guy
player.
had
He's
to
a
change
fan.
You're right.
Yeah.
He's a fan. He had to change his name, bro.
Yeah.
He had to change his
Oh.
He went in witness protection.
I
Pretty
saw
much.
I saw a whole little, like, ESPN, like, docuseries about this fucking guy. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
his life was ruined. His life was ruined, bro.
Probably worse than a player actually that I can think of at least.
It's so fucked. Like, such an unreasonable level of hate. Like, damn, they kicked me so fast from the game. Holy shit.
It's like, was that guy gonna catch it? Maybe.
Yeah, he was maybe gonna catch it. Who knows?
It wasn't even for sure though.
Yeah, but that's literally like the one example.
It's yeah.
It's like the one example that comes close.
You're right. I guess like players don't really get hated
But
on that much.
It was interesting because it was like in the 90s. So it was
Yeah.
like before social media. So like he like lost that game and like people were pissed and he like immediately dipped and he was like in America for like a month or two. And he's like he came back and he was like, holy fuck, like everybody fucking hated me. Like forever, like
That sucks.
spitting on him in public and shit. And I was like, damn, like that was like the last era of celebrity or like anything like that where like there was no social media, but like the hate was like IRL, bro. Like today, everybody would shit on him on Twitter, but like nobody would fuck with him in real life. But back then, it was people were like shitting on him everywhere he went, bro.
No, I couldn't imagine that, bro.
It's great. Like literally, I was like, today he would have got shit on Twitter. He would have turned that shit off, and he would have been fine. You know?
Even like what J.R. Smith did. Like no one really fucking hates that guy in real life.
What did J.R. Smith do?
Where he forgot the score of the game at the end of the finals.
Oh yeah, with LeBron, dude.
Yeah.
That's actually like the one thing I know him from. I don't know if I'm from any fucking thing else. Dude. It's wild.
Yeah, that
And
was a rough one. And no one hates him. Like I don't think people shit on him in real life.
I think he's
mean,
pretty
maybe.
like irrelevant, bro.
Yeah.
He's not. He didn't make a David Beckham turnaround, bro. Dude.
No.
Also, David Beckham's dad like built him for greatness, bro.
Yeah.
Like
What do
legitimately,
you mean
like
by that? What do you
like-
mean by that?
like he literally when Buddy was a child, his dad took him out to play soccer every day, and was just shooting corners and free kicks, all day every day till he like nailed them perfectly and put him in the exact spot his dad wanted, like every time. And all the fucking greatest moments of his career, of Beckham's career, bro, are like clutch corner kicks, clutch free kicks, like crazy shit.
Yeah.
Goated.
Dude, when you said he built him for greatness, I thought you were talking about like some Michael Jackson type
Oh
shit.
no. I guess I
Not
think
bad.
he was like, Buddy was like, he was kind of hard on him, but like, yeah, not at that level. But holy fuck, I'm like, dude, if I have a kid, bro, like, you literally just have to like find what they're good at and just stick them in that thing forever.
Never let
like
them
drill
fucking
it
leave.
into them, yeah.
Yeah.
Cause I was literally thinking, I'm like, what the fuck did my dad put that much time into me to do? Like nothing, bro.
I mean, my dad tried. Like he had me play he played sports.
Yeah, he had me
like,
play
I
sports.
played baseball, played basketball,
That's true.
shit like that.
But like, he wasn't like
Got me a drum kit.
obsessive. That's nice. Yeah, my dad got me a guitar. They did some stuff,
I just wasn't good at none of that shit.
but like,
So
but like, it's not like David Beckham as a kid was like amazing at free kicks. Like his dad
no,
just
but
sat there and was like
you're
willed
right.
it to
But he
happen.
was probably decent.
I mean,
Like how young are we talking about?
Like little, like from like tiny, bro.
Oh,
Like-
from a jit.
Like David
Yeah, he
Beckham
really
started playing
blew it.
for like the U12 Manchester team or whatever the fuck. Like since he was 12, like young.
Damn.
That's how all those European teams are. Like they find kids young as shit, and then they just build them, bro.
That's fire.
Just fucking dude. There are kids that are like professional in the European leagues that are like 16, dude. Like not even a fucking adult. like playing fucking professional, bro.
I believe it.
In
Luka
the-
Doncic.
At
he
the
was 16.
highest level, bro. Yeah, but bro, he's skilled, but like he's also just giant, freaking like
That's true. But when
There-
he was 16, he was probably a little smaller.
a little. But like compared to the other 16-year-olds, my guy.
No, he was playing with grown men. He was playing with grown men. He was in the Spain league, the Euro league.
Yeah, man, a
whatever.
grown man from that side of the world, a 16-year-old from that side of the world is a grown man. I don't give a fuck.
That's true.
He probably could drink in that country at 16.
Dude, they'll sell fucking kids alcohol.
It's
over
crazy
there,
though.
bro.
But basketball's like that. I mean, actually, football also like size. You're just like your genetic like size is like a huge factor.
Yeah.
But like soccer, you be a tiny fucker and kill it.
It's more about like what would you say? Like athleticism, pure athleticism, like footwork and stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, yeah, it's definitely about like skill level
Yeah.
more than like brute force.
Baseball, bro. That shit's fucking all skill level and speed.
Dude, I wish when I was playing baseball, somebody would have explained to me like what a good batting average is.
Dude, that man,
I could-
Deion Sanders, he played
Yeah, I saw
what?
that clip. He said, "Bro, any
Where they
sport
at?
where you hit the ball 3 out of 10 times and you're good is a hard ass sport."
Yeah.
Like literally, if somebody
said
had
that was the
explained that
hardest
to me
thing.
when I was little, I would have swung way more. Cause that was my problem when I played baseball. I never swung at anything. Like I mean, I was just like that looks like shit.
No, I was more like
So I didn't want to
more of
miss.
a kickball jit.
Kickball.
Dude,
I
I was
was-
mopping kids in kickball.
I was
bro.
pretty mid at kickball too. I hated kicking that ball. Like that. Like I'd rather play with like a soccer ball. Those
Oh, I mean,
kickballs
yeah.
Suck, bro. I hated those kickballs.
Why'd you hate him?
I don't know.
It
I
was
just
too
didn't-
hard.
I didn't
or-
like them. I for sure like was used to kicking a soccer ball, and I try to kick a kickball, and I'd be like, dude, what the? I remember one time, I kicked the ball, and the ball. I don't know how I literally don't know how I did this, but I kicked the ball, and the kickball just shot like directly straight up, like elementary school.
Oh
I was like,
god,
how the
that's
fuck-
the worst.
I was like, how the fuck did that even like? If I tried to do that
Probably
with a
hit
soccer
the
ball,
tip of your sneaker or some shit.
yeah, but I was like, dude, if I tried to do that with a soccer ball, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would not have been able to do it. Oh fuck.
Bro, you remember the kids that would punt that shit and just start sprinting?
Dude, I remember
Bop it with their leg?
I remember this one girl in elementary school, Cheyenne, bro. She kicked it like we would play like in the corner of like one of the basketball courts, and she kicked it into the farthest basketball hoop,
Damn.
like from one corner into the other, like into the hoop. I couldn't believe it was like 5th grade,
Into
bro.
the hoop? That's
Yeah,
nuts.
into the hoop. That was like the first real life highlight I ever saw.
I bet everyone went crazy.
Dude, I'm sure we lost our minds.
That's fucking hype.
Dude, she rocked that shit, bro. I think I'm gonna.
That's a core memory for her.
Maybe it is, bro.
I guarantee it.
It's gotta be. Do you have any athletic core memories, Nicky D?
Oh, I got a concussion.
So you lost all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing what? You got a concussion doing what?
Baseball. I don't remember how I even got it, honestly. I don't know if I fell, if I hit myself, if someone hit me with a baseball. I forget, but it was playing baseball.
Damn.
And that shit hit different. Yeah, I got a concussion. I couldn't fall asleep, bro.
Yeah, that's scary, bro.
I was trying to go to sleep. My dad's like, "No, you can't go to sleep. Don't go to
What
sleep."
happens if you go to sleep with a concussion?
Well, most likely nothing, but it's possible that you go into a coma.
Oh. Damn, I would have been like, bitch, let me sleep.
Yeah. I don't really know the science behind that shit, or maybe that's not even fucking true.
I just
don't know. That's
watched.
what they told me.
No, I'm sure. I just watched a thing with Brett. It was like a reel, and it was like Brett Favre, and he was like, "I don't think any kids should be playing tackle football."
It's the truth, honestly.
Yeah, and he was talking to. He said he talked to a doctor, and he was like, "How many?" The doctor was like, "How many concussions do you think you've had like in the career?" And he's like, 3 or 4, you know, maybe. And the doctor's like, you've had like thousands. And he's like, there's no way. Like, there's no way I had thousands of concussions. And he goes,
Favre?
the doctor was saying that to Brett Favre. He was saying, you've had
Oh,
thousands
he's a
of
quarterback,
concussions.
though. Thousands? That's crazy.
But basically, bro, he was like, the doctor was like, have you ever been like tackled or like you hit the floor or whatever, and you hear ringing in your ear or you see stars?
Ring your bell or see stars.
And he's
yeah.
like, and Fred Favre is like, literally every time I got tackled. And he's like, the doctor's like, that's a concussion, dude. It's crazy, bro.
I have seen that. I wouldn't think for quarterbacks it's that frequent,
Dude,
but I
come
guess
on,
so.
bro. Come on, bro.
Dude, because well nowadays they protect the fucking quarterbacks, bro. Like
True,
sure,
but I mean
every
they
single
still
other
get.
player they don't really give a fuck about, but
Like, how often does a quarterback get through a game untouched? Do you think? Completely untouched.
more often than you might expect. I'd say like
Like
1 in 3
zero
games
times?
where they don't hit the ground.
Yeah, like,
I'd say
nobody's
like
tackled
I'd say
them.
like 1 in 5 games.
One in 20% of the games, the quarterbacks make it unfazed.
Not both of them. So if you're talking about both of them, maybe
Oh,
like
yeah. At
both of
least
them,
one
it's probably way
quarterback.
more rare.
Yeah, you're right.
At least one quarterback, I'd say.
But
'Cause
see,
how
even
many-
that, like alone is like a knock against, because it's like you're like the quarterback's pretty safe. At least
the
one
average
of them.
amount of sacks in an NFL game is 3.6.
The quarterback on the better defensive team is pretty safe.
Yeah. No, 3.6 times a game on average, quarterbacks get tackled.
Yeah, see, that's great. So that's like the low end of concussions.
Oh yeah, dude. For
A
running
game.
backs, you're talking about 20 times a game.
Yeah, those are
Easily.
those are crazy. It's a crazy thing
No,
to sign
dude,
up to do.
It really is. I mean, it's basically guaranteed CTE.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they find it in 100. Anytime they fucking autopsy a football player, they find CTE, bro. They're like, yeah, this guy
Yep.
was fucked in the head every time. You think you could bet on that?
Bet on getting CTE.
Bet on like
What
if
the
a
fuck are you
football
talking
player
about?
has CTE when he dies. If they find it in the autopsy,
You probably could.
the odds would be garbage though, because it's like 100% hit rate. Maybe
It's
like-
actually only 91%.
Excuse me.
But granted, that is the people who submitted their shit to get tested for CTE.
Yeah, if we did everybody.
Realistically, it might be a little lower. It might be like 80%.
Oh, you think it's lower?
Well,
I think
think
it
about
might
it. If
go
they're
up,
submitting your shit to get tested for CTE, that probably means you think you might have that shit.
I don't know. Maybe you're just like, fuck it. For the good
Yeah,
of
maybe.
science. Who cares? So we can find out if this is fucking.
I know Antonio Brown got that shit. I'll tell you that.
Dude,
Have you
that
seen the
guy-
hit where he gets it?
No, I have not seen.
People,
I've
the
not seen
general,
the hit.
the NFL Twitter pretty much has it pinned down. Like
The
they're
hit-
pretty sure
the
it was
hit.
on this
Dude,
exact
remember
hit that he got.
when fucking Tua got hit and then he came back out and they hit him again and he fucking wobbled?
Well, yes,
That was crazy. That was
that
crazy.
was fucked.
That was
Because
crazy.
what had happened was the week before
Yeah.
he had gotten a concussion, but
And they
it went
cleared him.
undiagnosed. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they didn't even diagnose it. They didn't even bother
They
to be like.
they,
"You for
they
sure
said
had
it was a
concussion?"
they said it was a back injury,
Oh wow.
but you can clearly
I
see
didn't
him
know
stumble
that.
off the field.
Yeah.
Then the next week is when he got the real serious one.
That one was no bueno, dude.
Yeah,
Antonio Brown though, he's on some crazy shit.
I'll send you that one. That was fucking.
Yeah, drop the link. Drop the injury link.
Yeah, people have it pretty much pinned down on this hit. This was the one.
He's not in the NFL right now, right? He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Being crazy.
Yeah, he's too crazy.
It's the Dolphins' year, bro. We're killing it.
We really fucking are. Dude, just go to like 50 seconds into that video and look at how ridiculous that is.
Roethlisberger from the pocket, middle of the field. Shot to the live. Marvin Lewis, before this drive started, was talking on the sideline the whole time. It seemed like to Vontae
Oh.
Perfect, and yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god. That's nasty.
No, everyone considers that guy like one of the dirtiest players. The guy who did it.
Who is that guy?
Fontaz Perfect. He's out of the league.
Stop fucking with me. What's his real name?
That's his real fucking name, bro.
Stop quoting the
Fontaz
King
Perfect.
Peel sketch. What's his real fucking name? Every time I you or Garrett, somebody talks about a football player, and I go, "What's his name, bro?"
You think we're memeing
And
you?
it literally, I'm like, that could have been right out of the Key and Peele sketch, bro. Without a doubt, could have been a fucking name. It's as real as Hingle McCringleberry.
I saw a pretty crazy one today that even I couldn't believe.
What was it?
Imari DiMercado.
That's so good. You know the best one, right? It's not even a football player.
Which
On
one?
the Key and Peele thing, they were like, this one girl he knew had her name was L-A Ladasha.
Latasha. That's so good.
It's honestly creative as fuck.
That's pretty fucking good.
L-A Ladasha. Dude, attendance must have been hell for her, bro. Like,
Easy,
literally.
I don't know how some people get the craziest names, bro, but it's entertaining as
It's-
hell.
It's so
What was
interesting.
Kodak's original name?
Oh, I don't remember.
Dude, it was
Like,
so good.
Bill Israel. That's the only name I know. Has he posted anything about Israel? Because he's
Not
Jewish,
yet.
right? He's Jewish, right?
Yeah, he hasn't posted. He's staying real quiet.
I wonder why he converted to Judaism. Like, I wonder how
I don't
legit
fucking
that
know.
is, bro. Like, what is the purpose of that?
Dude, it's real.
Dude, if Ronaldo gets lashings, bro, that's crazy. There's no way.
Wait, hold up. You know Chief Keef named his one son, right?
No.
Oh my god.
Lieutenant Keefe?
No,
Sergeant
he
Keefe?
named it after a website that sponsored him.
No. No, he didn't.
His name is snowfilmon.com, Cozart. It's his middle name, so it's not that bad. But
Society
Yeah.
as a whole just went down like a whole level.
oh,
for
this
me.
was a while
For me.
ago.
Like,
too.
for me,
This
for
was
me.
a while ago.
Because I thought, celebrities, artists, they'll name their kids weird shit, whatever. But taking a brand sponsorship on your kid's name?
No. Okay, to be fair, it was his own website.
Oh. So he just made his kid like an ad.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of crazy. Oh my god.
I don't even know if the website. Let's see if the website still exists. Film on.
It better. It fucking better still exist. There's no
Dude, I
way,
don't know.
bro. It can't not exist.
Okay, nah, it does. It
Yeah,
does.
there's no. The
The fuck
website
is
doesn't
this
exist.
website?
The kid doesn't exist. You know.
They got Benjamin Netanyahu speaking. This looks like a whole ass
What the
fucking
fuck?
TV system.
That's Chief Keef's website.
Allegedly. I don't know, bro.
Time is it?
Filmon.com. I bet he must have changed that baby's name. There ain't no way.
How did the baby mama let that happen?
That kid's dude. Literally, the fucking article I'm on says that Chief Keef and his newest baby mama have reached an agreement to name the newborn. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah. They had to.
I bet he
fuck
paid
with-
her ass.
Dude. He probably promised her like to have another kid and she can name that one whatever website she wants.
Jesus, man. She just plugs her Instagram.
I'm gonna name my kid Fox News.
No,
No? Is that not the play?
maybe.
Fuck a kid, bro. No! Oh my god. Scored a millions. Dude, I'm voting for RFK Jr., independent voter. I don't give a fuck.
Go, baby.
Did you see like conservative people that were like saying positive shit about RFK Jr. Now that he's running independent, they straight up are like, okay, now we have to attack him because he's gonna take votes away from Trump.
Exactly.
He's like, before we loved him because he was taking votes from Biden.
He's gonna take the anti-vaccine vote, bro.
Yes, hardcore, which is what we need. It's what we fucking need, bro. RFK Jr. you can't like. What did they do to his voice? Like,
Cigarettes or something, right?
is it really just like cigarettes that
I have
fucked
no
him up like
idea.
that?
Maybe it's like an injury or something.
And no, but it's also like it's a family thing because I think a couple Kennedys fucking sound like that, bro.
Oh, I don't know.
I think there's like a handful of them that have a similar sounding voice.
But yo, I do gotta do at least a little bit more work before I head out today. So
Dude, kill yourself. Don't do
I know.
shit. You're the manager. Just tell one of your subordinates.
unfortunately, I fucking can't.
I feel you, bro. Go grind your shit away, man. Get that.
But I'll be
Earn
back.
that bonus, bro. I'm dipping. I'm going to Knicks later. We'll make some shit.
Oh, nice.
But then I don't know when I'll be back from that. But I might stream after that.
All right, bro. Well, if you're streaming when I'm back from the movie.
But
I'll
yeah,
enjoy it.
yeah, for sure. And then we could let me know.
I'm
how
seeing
the
it
fucking
at
movie is.
I think it starts at 7:30, so
I'll say
I
less.
should be back by like what? Fucking
No, like a
damn,
little before
probably like 10.
Yeah.
probably like 9:45 or something. Yeah.
I
Alright.
bet. Let me know.
Peace.
Peace, homie. Back to therapy.
Doing in the world. Who knows?
Okay.
That's my answer. I don't know if that answers your
I
question.
totally forgot where we were, but
What was this originally about? What it means to dissolve your desires? Okay.
Yeah, is
It
that
was good.
good?
Okay.
Right? So
Gotcha.
I think it will lead to less suffering, but the interesting thing, the reason people get scared about it is because as we dissolve our desires, we also lose some things that give us a compass in life, like ambition.
Sure. I think I probably would agree with that. That like people reframe a lot of things negatively that are probably actually important parts of society. So for instance, like feeling negative when your peers judge you, or feeling
Conceding.
competitive, or a pressure to do something socially is probably an important part of the human experience in terms of like building societies, because we want to feel like we can pressure people to act in certain ways, stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make in our society is that assuming that negative emotions are bad. Like there's a reason why
I agree
every
with that,
human
yeah.
being feels anger, feels shame, feels guilt. And it's fascinating because as people move away from their negative emotions, that's actually when they get stuck. Because if you kind of think about it, like I did a YouTube video about this, but it's a fascinating concept that like everyone avoids shame, but shame is the most powerful corrective motivating force in you as a human being. And so when you start suppressing shame, you literally neuroscientifically lose out on the ability to learn from mistakes and adapt to
that's
circumstances.
crazy.
Yeah, I agree. There's a quote that I had when I was a StarCraft 2 player 13 years ago, but the quote was like, to achieve perfection is to sacrifice growth. And the idea is that like if you don't feel an impetus to change or to improve or do something, then you've essentially like cut yourself off from any motivating forces to actually change or be better. So yeah, I think I would agree with that.
So the interesting thing is that as you dissolve more desires, you become more free, and you can end up choosing to act compassionately, which is usually what happens.
That's good.
So I think getting rid of ambition is only scary until you discover that there are other compasses, and most people want the compass instead of ambition, because ambition is like relentless, and it kind of drives you
Okay.
as opposed to you controlling it. And the
I feel
freedom,
like
yeah,
no god.
the freedom to choose is liberating, and oftentimes when people are truly free to choose, they make the right choices.
Okay.
Oh my god, I'm eating shit. Here we go.
My second monitor is here, so I'm looking at you, but it looks like I'm not looking at you. But just so you know,
Okay.
you're right there. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Did you want to walk down this road anymore? Or do you want to move to another area, or?
Well, did I answer your question?
Something that would. This is very difficult for me. I think something that would help push me along a little bit. It's very hard for me to find role models since my job and everything I do is like so unique. It's really hard to find people in the world that I would go like, oh, this guy's doing something. I want to be more like him. I think that when you give me this kind of overarching like dissolution of desires, the freedom to choose better paths. Oftentimes, the path that you choose post dissolution will be better than the the more hardline road you run prior to that. It would be interesting if there were people that I could look at that were achieving or accomplishing in my arena those types of things that had made those decisions. Does that make sense? So, for instance, something you're telling me is the ambition driver, the ambition engine might feel good because it pushes and pushes and pushes, but that if you could dissolve everything underneath that and then make other choices, it might be better. But I mean, obviously, intellectually and emotionally, I'm very tied to that ambition engine, and it's hard for me to. I'm hearing what you're saying, but there's a lot of disbelief without me being able to find somebody in the world and go like, oh, that person did that, and I see they're doing like I aspire to that. I want to aspire to that, so it would push me in that direction. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, well, but so do you? I'm getting kind of this tacit idea that I need someone to not need, but if I set a role model for myself, it helps motivate my behavior.
It could, or like if there's a particular habit that's good, I like to see the proof of concept of that, I guess. So like if somebody tells me something like, oh, like you met me a year ago and I told you that I was going to read, one book a week, and then they talked to me about, the 52 different books they read last year just because they found some like novel way to work reading into their schedule. Like maybe they read like 2 pages after every League of Legends game. If I see that, then in my life I'd be like, holy crap, this guy has a really good outcome. He had a really cool process for doing it. I'm going to copy that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I mean,
So when you talk to me about the dissolution thing, I'd be curious. Yeah, to see, go ahead.
I don't know who you would consider a good role model. I don't think that. So, the only thing that comes to my mind is my own experience with my own journey, but I don't think that I am an appropriate role model for you. I think we're colleagues, and I'm happy to share what that experience looked like for me. And the reason that I'm advocating for it is because I think it has been profoundly positive in my life.
Okay. Can you actually? So then I'm kind of curious. For however much you're obviously comfortable sharing, you have, from everything that I've seen, you've got an awesome family. You've got an awesome company, and you do really cool stuff online. How do you balance out? How do you balance it? What's the emotional decision? Somebody comes to you with an offer or an ability to expand your business, twofold. You've got an opportunity to do this, but it might come at significant cost to your family. What does the process look like for you? How do you even begin to have that internal dialogue?
Yeah, so I can share my own experience. To begin with, I wanted to be big when I was growing up. I wanted to be an important person. I grew up Indian. An Indian diaspora in the United States means that you've got a couple of career choices. There's a very strong founder effect, so there's serious brain drain. So all the Indian kids. So I grew up in a city where there were 5 people my age in the whole city. There were 5 Indian people in my grade in the whole city. 3 of us became doctors. Right? So that's it's just staggering. So I grew up with this culture that was very education focused, achievement focused. Not tiger parents, but that's just kind of the culture. My parents were very loving and supportive. And so I grew up and when I was 15 or 16, I told people I wanted to be a doctor, and they got impressed with that because, Alok is such a smart boy, right? And then that fed my ego. And then when I went to UT, I was a freshman and I majored in pre-med, and I was like, I'm gonna be at the top of my class. And where did I want to go to med school? I wanted to go to med school at Harvard because that's where all the Indian kids want to go. And so when that ambition was my primary driving force, I found that it could not conquer the other parts of myself, because there was a part of me that wanted to play for 16 hours a day. And so those two parts would fight. And because of whatever, on some days I would study and on some days I wouldn't. And certainly not good enough to get into any medical school for that matter. So that changed when I went to India, and I sort of discovered a different way of looking at myself and understanding where my ambition comes from.
Can you real quick, how old were you when you went to India?
21.
21. Okay, cool. Okay, go ahead.
And then, so I then decided to become a monk. And then, but that too was like actually the same driving forces. What I later discovered is that I had concluded logically that like I can't compete with these kids. Like there's no way I'm going to be able to achieve my goals and what I want. And I'm basically a failure at life. So what I did is I did this really interesting ego trick where I started devaluing that which I could not have.
Okay.
Right? So, like all these kids are materialistic and they're shallow and they all want to, make lots of money and drive fancy cars and things like that. I'm going to rise above that and become spiritual. So I'm going to have this
super
ego.
common, yeah.
Huh?
I was going to say that's super common, yeah.
Yeah,
That when somebody can't have something, they start to say, well, actually, that sucks anyway, and this has been way better, and blah, blah, blah.
Right. So I kind of went down that road, and then thankfully my teachers recognized that my desire to become a monk was not like genuine. It was escapism. So they didn't take me, but they continued teaching me. And then, the big irony is at some point I gave up on my dreams, right? I was like, there's no fucking way. I graduated with a 2.5 GPA, applied to med school for 2 years, got 110 rejections. No, sorry, 80-something rejections. Applied my third year, got another 20, 30, 40 rejections. And at that point, like after my second year, I had kind of this formative moment where I started thinking about, okay, like, what do I want? And then I changed the way that I started looking. It's not about desire or anything like that. Like I kind of let go of all that stuff. And I was like, my teachers told me to do something, so I'm going to do it out of like faith, not out of personal desire or ambition or anything like that. I trust these people and they said do this, so I'm going to do this. And even when everyone else
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So you coming from the US and you being really ambitious and then you kind of like changing your ambitions to different things, why were you in a state where you would trust those teachers? Or what do you think made it that you were like, you know what, I'm going to put aside my ego a little bit and trust these guys instead of just like, you know what, screw these guys, they're dumb. I'm going to go back and follow my own stuff.
So I would say that if you are a GSL champion in StarCraft and you queue up against someone who just installed the game, this is what my interactions with them were like. They just crushed.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't competitive, but they just bodied me like every single time. They understood so much about me that I did not understand. And they taught me all of that stuff about myself.
Okay.
Right?
So they
like,
basically they'd earn their respect with their
absolutely.
just the knowledge and the ability.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
they like helped me understand like how to live, like these fundamentals, because we don't teach that. We don't teach people how their mind works. And then the other cool thing is they never asked me to have faith or trust in them. My teachers were good. They also recognized that what I needed was questions, not answers. They also did a good job of answering whatever questions I had, which in many spiritual traditions is like not very good. So it didn't matter how hard the question was that I asked. They like basically always had a good answer.
Okay.
And so based on that, I was like, okay, these people know what they're talking about. And I think there's a lot of legitimacy to this. I also, in that process, started to trust more into it because I started looking into the science. I was very skeptical of all this meditation stuff when I started. I didn't believe it. I thought it was all BS. And then I got my first research position studying complementary and alternative medicine, and that was a very formative experience for me, too. This is all a roundabout way of saying, like, as I gave up on my ambitions and just focused on, let's call it being a better person or accomplishing whatever, like a different kind of internal compass, I actually floated to the top of, like, the competitive pool.
Okay.
And then my ambitions reemerged when I actually started. So I did medical school at Tufts, and then I matched at psychiatry at Harvard and Mass General and McLean, which are like the best programs in the country. I'm sure other people will disagree. UCLA is really good, Stanford's really good, Yale's really good, Hopkins is really good. A lot of great programs. But based on the academic status ladder, whatever, those were the top programs in the country. And so I kind of found